I'm Jessie Robertson from the University of Alaska Fairbanks, and this is Alaska Voices, a place for communities to connect through conversation in order to build a better tomorrow for Alaskans and the world.
Originally, I grew up in Gakona, Alaska,
Tyonek,
Egypt,
Idaho,
Rampart,
St. Lawrence Island,
St. Paul.
and I'm here with my student,
my science buddy,
my teacher,
my homie.
I'm his daughter.
I'm Joanna Young. I'm 33 years old. My relationship to my interview partner, Erin here, is I am her graduate student, her employee, her mentee, and also her friend.
My name is Erin Pettit, and I am 45 years old. And we are here in Fairbanks, Alaska. And my relationship to my interview partner, Joanna, is that I'm her advisor and mentor for both science and educational activities, leadership activities, and her friend.
I anticipated coming in and doing a pretty straightforward science-only, glaciology-only degree for a master's, and it's now been 7 years, and I'm well into a PhD and an outreach program that Erin and I work on together called Girls on Ice, and it's given me an opportunity to work on outdoor education and leadership and just an art and this overwhelming number of different topics that I don't think I would have gotten to explore as part of my graduate student experience, or I didn't expect to anyway. And I'm just really happy that now I'm studying all of those things in a formal way and not just kind of dabbling on the side and feeling like it's not part of my real job and I should be focusing on just the science. Like, these are an actual part of my graduate student experience now.
Has it been a little bit scary going sort of a non-traditional PhD route?
I'm nodding. Yeah, it has been scary. The person I had to convince more than anyone else was myself that these other endeavors are worthwhile and are actually the stuff that I feel passionate about and probably excel at more than just the sitting and doing data analysis all the time, which I also love, but I think my passion is more broad than that. And there have been some naysayers, I think, along the way. I've gotten some anonymous articles placed on my cubicle desk with the headline that says, the dangers of diversifying your skill set too young in your graduate studies. And I'm like, what is this supposed to imply? Well, I'm pretty sure I know what it's supposed to imply. So there are traditionalists and people who see graduate studies, I think, for one specific purpose. And I just don't agree with that.
And so how do you think your balance of Alaskan science, glacier science specifically, and Alaskan youth education is already benefiting the state of Alaska as a whole and our struggles with trying to understand the future of climate change and how to deal with it in Alaska?
Right.
That's a big question.
That's loaded.
Sorry.
I'll try to tackle it. Let's go deep. I think that scientific information is incredibly valuable, but it's not valuable in and of itself sitting on a dusty bookshelf somewhere. And the findings that we come up with, the results that we generate, are only so useful as how it ultimately impacts policy. And we can't impact policy if we don't have people on board with the message. And one of the ways I think that we do that with Girls on Ice and with this outreach endeavor is that we take youth when they're at this pivotal moment in their lives, 16 and 17 years old, and we bring them from places where they may or may not see the impacts of climate change on their home landscape, and we bring it to the forefront, and we show them the very visible signs on the landscape of these impacts. And I have to believe that those girls go home and talk to their parents and talk to their siblings and talk to their friends, and that it becomes a topic of conversation, and that we're contributing to a wider dialogue around the state. Can I ask you a question, Erin?
Sure.
Did you envision having graduate students who would walk away with such a broad range of skill sets. And do you ever struggle with your graduate students kind of wanting to diversify and maybe taking longer than they could?
I've always had the impression that graduate school should be the training that the student will benefit most from. And that's different than them just being a research assistant on a specific project beginning to end, and then you're out. Even when I was in graduate school, I took that picture of graduate school is a body of work that should include some teaching experience, some networking with understanding the whole scientific community and how all of that works, as well as the specifics of a particular project. And maybe you'd work on a couple of different projects depending on the skill set you want to create. And since that was kind of the philosophy I took with my own graduate degree, I can't really tell my students not to do that. And I know there are some advisors that really want to push the student towards a very specific beginning to end project because that's the most efficient way to get through with a PhD. But if you really want to do something beyond the PhD, you need to have skill sets beyond processing data. So far, I have not received a lot of fallback from my students being sometimes a little more diverse. And not all of my students have been that way. So I try to also make sure that my students realize they can do it the way that they want.
I have a big picture loaded question. I'd be curious, what do you think is good leadership?
Good leadership can take many forms, I think, actually. But maybe the core of it is recognizing that as a leader, you're not there to tell other people what to do. You're there to support them succeeding at what they already can do best or helping them learn to do something better. But I think being aware of the dynamics among the people that are involved, being aware and open to understanding the different skill sets that everybody brings in, and not making the assumption that you as the leader know the right answer and the right direction to go. So it's all about all of us stepping away from our egos and gently kind of encouraging everybody to do a little bit of that.
I was reading a paper recently that talked about recommendations on how to reward. Well, this was even talking about scientific publications, but scientific publications that are built off of bringing in community members, like either doing citizen science or like incorporating traditional ecological knowledge and co-production of knowledge, essentially. The paper was suggesting these types of studies take twice the amount of time. That type of work, to actually have that kind of impact outside of just the paper, takes twice as much time. So shouldn't those publications be worth twice as much as all the others when you're applying for a tenure package?
It's a very difficult thing, and I honestly, it's difficult for me to say in a public space, but the entire Girls on Ice, Inspiring Girls Expedition thing has made my career path much more difficult than it would have if I had not done this at all. And so I have to constantly be basically just accepting the risk that it has added to my career path in terms of choices of faculty positions or to get what I want. And UAF has actually been really wonderful with it, but many universities have struggled with it. And I kind of went into it knowing that it was going to make my life difficult. Mm-hmm. But seeing what happens to these girls and engaging all of these women in the process has just been so much more powerful of an experience for me that it was worth it to take those risks with my own career. It still scares me every day, though,
Well, from me to you, thanks for doing that on behalf of the girls and on behalf of people like me.
Well, thank you for being a very determined student who was willing to persevere through a lot of challenges.
Alaska Voices builds bridges by creating a space where community members, friends, policymakers, and scientists can share stories and place-based knowledge. This project was developed in partnership with StoryCorps and was funded by the Alaska Climate Adaptation Science Center. Additional funding was provided by the University of Alaska Fairbanks Chancellor through a generous gift from the Bentley Family Trust to the University of Alaska Fairbanks. Alaska Voices would not be possible without the help and efforts of an amazing group of people. Our producer and audio engineer is Kelsey Skonberg of Mossy Stone Media. Our podcast and outreach specialist is Mike DeLue, and our website designer is Carolyn Rosner. If you are interested in more conversations or information, please visit our website at alaskavoices.org.